that people come into our lives for a reason, bringing something we must learn, and we are those who help us most grow if we let them, and we help them in return. Well, I don't know if I believe that's true, but I know I'm who I am today because I knew you. Like a comet pulled from orbit as it passes the sun, like a stream that meets a boulder halfway through the wood. Who can say if I've been changed for the better? But because I knew you, I have been changed for good. It well may be that we'll never meet again in this lifetime. So let me say before we part, so much of me is made of what I've learned from you. You'll be with me like a handprint on my heart. And now whatever way our stories end, I know you have rewritten mine by being my friend. Like a ship blown from its mooring by a wind off the sea, like a seed dropped by a skybird in a distant wood. Who can say if I've been changed for the better? But because I knew you, because I knew you, I have been changed for good. And just to clear the air, I ask forgiveness for the things I've done you blamed me for. But then I guess we know there's blame to share, and none of that seems to matter anymore. Like a comet pulled like a ship as it passes the by a wind off the like sea, a stream that meets like a seed dropped by a halfway through the wood. Who can say if I've been changed for the better? I do believe I have been changed for the better. But because I knew you, because I knew you, because I knew you, I have been changed for good.
Good morning. That was lovely. Such a great way to start our morning. Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Church of Arlington, where today we'll explore the past, present, and future of the spiritual art and practice of tattoo. We are a people of many backgrounds, sexual orientations, races, genders, of disabilities and abilities, both seen and unseen. At UUCA, we encourage people to come for community, find inspiration, and live with purpose together. My name is Jim Finley, and I am a grateful member of the Board of Trustees. Today is Sunday, May 12th, and whether this is your first time worshiping with us or your regular Sunday routine, we're glad you're here. We at UCA are a highly active and engaged community. So I encourage each of you to go to our newsletter for all the latest news and activities of our church. Today, I would like to invite everyone after service to visit Fellowship Hall and dedicate an Equality UUCA pride flag. You may write a message on a flag recognizing a specific person, or positive encouragement, or other message for one of the flags which will surround our church in June. Also, we are now recruiting for volunteers for next year's religious education program. If you are interested in learning more about the RE opportunities or have questions, please contact Leanne Williams of our staff. Lastly, be sure to check for upcoming events and opportunities on the calendar tab of our website. Thank you, everyone, and good morning and welcome.
Jim, thank you so much for that welcome, and Jen and Devin for that beautiful music this morning. After the 9:15, I had a couple folks who came through the receiving line and said, I wasn't prepared to be emotionally wrecked during the gathering music, but it's emotionally wrecked in the best way here at church. I am so glad to be with you all this morning. I'm Reverend Amanda Poppy. My pronouns are she, her, and I serve as senior minister here. I serve with my colleague, Reverend Carol Thomas Sissel, Minister of Social Justice and Community Development. And we are so glad to be on the chancel this morning with our Sanctuary Singers Choir, led by Jen Heyman, our interim music director. We're grateful for Cameron and Art in the back at the sound booth. We're grateful for the ushers. We're grateful for the welcome team. We're grateful for the coffee makers and for the cup washers. We're grateful for the folks staffing tables in Fellowship Hall. We're grateful for you. You indeed are part of creating worship this morning and every Sunday. So if you are online, please say hello in the comments. Let each other know you're there. If you are in the space, please say hello IRL, in real life, and particularly extend a greeting to someone you didn't come in with. It is good indeed to be together this morning, my friends. This month we are exploring the theme of pluralism, and if you were here last Sunday, and if not, I encourage you to check it out online. RevCTC engaged with that idea, thinking about our different beliefs and our different backgrounds, how we can come together across difference and stay connected. This morning, I am thinking of pluralism in a little bit of a different way. I am thinking of the plurality within each of us, the multitudes that we contain, and the way that all of them are welcome here. And so it is in that spirit that I offer this call to worship from Reverend Sean Neil Barron, Unitarian Universalist minister. Your body is welcome here, all of it. Yes, even that part, and that part, and yes, even that part. The parts you love and the parts you don't. For in this place we come with all that we are, all that we have been, and all that we are going to be. Our bodies are constantly changing. Cells die and cells are reborn. We respond to infections and disease. Sometimes we can divorce them from our bodies, and other times they become a permanent part of us. Your body and all that is within it, both wanted and not wanted, has a place here. Our bodies join in a web of co-creation, created and creating, constantly changing us, scarred and tattooed, tense and relaxed, diseased and cured, unfamiliar and intimate, formed in infinite diversity of creation. Your body is welcome here, all of it. So take a moment and welcome it. Take a moment to feel in it. Take a moment to be in it. Let us worship together with all our bodies.
As we move into our service today, I want to remind you all of one thing. It's the second Sunday in May, which is Mother's Day. So I want to acknowledge and welcome and offer compassion to all of those who are mothers, who are grandmothers, who are granduncles, who are uncles, who are big brothers, all of the folks that we know who take care of the small people in our lives, all of those of you who do mothering. As I move into the candle of compassion, I share these words. Our hearts are opened by the crisis in Israel and Gaza. We pray that this hostility will end soon. We lift up all the innocent children who have been affected by this crisis. Our hearts are broken open with pain at the senseless deaths caused by gun violence. This morning we sing compassion to the families who mourn the loss of loved ones, the children who are living in fear. We ask those in our world who respond to the crisis by continuing to arm themselves with more guns, by increasing their capacity to end lives, to stop, to take a breath, and to reconsider before they buy more weapons. We reach out with compassion and connect with those who feel alone in the world, to those who are hungry, to those who woke up this morning wet and cold after spending a night on the pavement. We send our compassion and offer our strength to all of those in this space, online, and out in the world who are carrying burdens both seen and unseen. We light our candle for all of these things. And moving on to lighting our chalice. We gather together as a community of memory and hope to celebrate life and its infinite possibilities for love. Please join me. The words are in your order of service. We light this chalice as a symbol of the light within every human heart. May our individual sparks meet and merge, bringing both light and warmth to the world. Our opening hymn is number 1051, We Are, Rise in body or spirit, please.
Fooled by that pesky little repeat in there. The choir will help you in case you forget the map. For each child that's born, a morning star rises and sings to the universe who we are. For each child that's born, a morning star rises and sings to the universe who we are. We are our grandmother's prayers. We are our grandfather's dreamings. We are the breath of our ancestors. We are the Spirit of God. We are mothers of courage and fathers of time. We are daughters of dust and the sons of great visions. We're seekers of mercy and brothers of love. We are lovers of life and the builders of nations. We're seekers of truth and keepers of faith. We are makers of peace and the wisdom of ages. We are our grandmother's prayers, and we are our grandfather's dreamings. We are the breath of our ancestors. We are the Spirit of God. We are mothers of courage and fathers of love. We are daughters of dust and the sons of great visions. We're sisters of mercy and brothers of love. We are lovers of light and the builders of nations. We're seekers of truth and keepers of faith. We are makers of peace and the wisdom of ages. We are grandmother's prayers, and we are our grandfather's dreamings. We are the breath of our ancestors. We are the Spirit of God. For each child that's born, a morning star rises and sings to the universe who we are. For each child that's born, a morning star rises and sings to the universe who we are.
This morning we're going to do something particularly beautiful. Longer. Yeah. I did it again. I turned it off because I have fear of hot mic. This morning we're going to do something particularly beautiful. Our community is growing and changing all of the time. Today we want to acknowledge one of the newest members of our tribe, Sasha Luisa Diavanzo. We also want to welcome and acknowledge Sasha's big sister, Daisy. It's such a joy to have both of them in the UUCA family. You guys please come on up. We also want to open our hearts and dedicate ourselves to helping these children and their family as they travel into the new territory of shaping family.
As parents, grandparents, godparents, family, and friends, humanity is our responsibility. Thanks for being a symbol of that, Sasha. Human beings are a very specific part of the universe that we have a direct hand in caring for. We give them our love, care, respect, and dedication.
This ritual this morning is not a baptism, nor is it to usher this child into a certain belief system. None of us are gathered here today to impose our beliefs on her or Daisy. We're not saving these children. Rather, we're welcoming them on the path to being more human and more humane. And we are freely committing ourselves to supporting them, both of them, as they discover their own way.
Ben and Sarah, are you ready to dedicate yourselves to loving and supporting your child as they move through our world?
Do you promise to care for this child and her big sister and to love them both with all your heart and spirit?
We will.
Will you extend to your child unmeasurable kindness and courage? Will you encourage them to live out their dreams?
Will you show them how to love justice and live with compassion?
We will.
I have some special questions as well, asking for extra love and support and care in this family. Will you offer that to this child as well? Yes. And Daisy, you know, Daisy, we did your child dedication on Zoom, and you don't remember because you were about the age of your little sister now. But some of us remember because you went right up to the camera and we could see you on the camera on our computer screens and our TV screens. So I am glad you are here in person and not on a computer today. And I wonder if you can promise to care for your little sister and to care for her and teach her and to be a good big sibling to her. What do you think? Thumbs up.
Thumbs up.
I love it. If you willingly agree to honor this relationship, will you say these words out loud? Here you are.
We pledge to set a good example for our child and do everything we can to stay by their side on this journey of life. We will steady them when they falter and catch them when they fall. Together we promise to be present wherever they need us.
Thank you.
Please share the name of your child.
Sasha Louisa Devanza.
Sasha Louisa Devanza.
By this name, your child is known today. As their life unfolds, may we be open to their own knowledge of their name and their selfhood, as it unfolds just as a bud unfurls and blossoms. And so, with this bud, Sasha Louisa Devanzo, I touch your brow. What do you think? No, maybe not. I metaphorically touch your brow. That's good
Metaphorically.
too. To dedicate you to a life of careful and thoughtful thinking. I touch, sort of, again, your eyes to dedicate you to a life of clear vision, unclouded by prejudice or fear. I point towards your mouth and remind you to choose your words carefully and always speak honestly and powerfully. And maybe I touch your heart very little bit, dedicating you to a life of generosity and love. This has been dethorned because we don't need thorns quite yet.
We don't need thorns. No.
And Daisy, I have a different flower for you as the big sibling here on the chancel this morning, that your life, which has already been unfolding, continues to unfold even more.
Perfect. Do you think you could be my helper, Daisy, for this part? Can you come over here? Okay. Can you hold that? Got it? Sasha, I rub a little bit of earth. Will you let me? In your hand, around your hand. Dedicating you to a life of hard work and reminding you and your caregivers and your big sister that it's good to get your hands dirty doing the work of the world. Okay, let's put that one back. And can you help me with this one? Over here by Sasha. We brush you gently with flame and remind you that the world is warm, is vivid, and beautiful. Okay, let's put this one back. And you can do this one. Can you wet your hand? Yeah, and then wet your sister's hand. Oh, there you go. I wet your hand with water. May it cleanse and cool your spirit when troubled and lessen your thirst for love when your heart is parched and you are weary. And here's the one that's the most fun. Yeah? I gently move the air about you promising you a life filled with silky breezes and gentle winds, reminding all of us that we can offer support when life becomes stormy. Thank you. Yeah, come right over here. Will the congregation please rise, embody your spirit, and add their support and their voices to this ritual? In one voice, please. We give thanks for these children. You belong to the sky and the ocean and land. We are now connected
not
to
only to each other,
but to the natural elements that surround us. Each new child brings hope and new beginnings to our community. We know that these children will offer their unique gifts to the world. Knowing that challenges and joys lie ahead, we promise to stand with Sasha and Daisy and their family, offering hope, courage, and love. Together?
May the
May the truth that sets us free, and the hope that never dies, and the love that casts out fear, be with us now until the day spring breaks and the shadows flee. We welcome Sasha, Louisa, Devanzo, and Daisy to this community and into our lives. Welcome. Amen. Thank you all.
What a joy to celebrate together this morning. Thank you so much for bringing this child into our community. It is time now for our children to head off to their classes where they will continue to unfold like blossoms, sometimes more or less chaotically like all of us. As they are on their way, will you sing them to their classes this morning?
Peace to you.
On your way, may you grow in love each day, meeting new friends and opening your mind to the wonders of the world you will find, to the wonders of the world you will find.
I invite you to settle in to this time of centering and meditation and prayer in our service. To welcome in that body of yours, the one you brought with you, the one you bring with you every Sunday, even as it changes. Take a breath, if you will. Today, as we celebrate Mother's Day, as we hold all the ways that people parent in gendered ways and far beyond gender, we acknowledge how complicated this day may be. For some of us, it is a day of celebration with sticky hands and breakfast in bed. For some of us, it is a day of challenge, maybe still with sticky hands and breakfast in bed. Some of us hold in our hearts deep pains and scars we are reminded of anew today. Some of us hold fresh wounds that feel particularly tender. May we be gentle with ourselves and gentle with each other. May we open ourselves past all binaries to hold instead the expansive love that welcomes us in, that stays with us through the tender times. that wraps us up. May your heart feel open today. May your heart feel held. Amen.
We are a community that gives. Every Sunday we take an offering, and 70% of that offering goes to an organization in the community that mirrors our values and that helps the world to be a bit better place. In the month of May, Share the Plate is going to the organization called Alive. Alive offers basic services to alleviate the suffering caused by poverty, and it creates pathways out of poverty. They provide transitional shelter and advocate for solutions and programs that address basic human needs. At the local level, they're bringing together diverse faith traditions to provide services for the newly arrived, the longtime disadvantaged, the disabled, and low-income elderly. In that way, they share values, they share aspirations, and they share faith in one another while they're creating and nurturing community. This month, Alive is our Share the Plate beneficiary. They're also collecting items all month long, personal care items, shampoo, toothpaste, toothbrushes, and there are bins in the lobby where you can leave your gifts for them there. I ask that you give as generously as possible. We will take your cash. You can write a check and put STP, Share the Plate, on the memo line. You can also go online and click on the donate button there, or we are really hip. You can use this QR code right here, and we will get your money even quicker. Please give as much as you can, as generously as you can. Will the ushers please take an offering? Thank you, choir. Thank you, Jen. We have many gifts here at UUCA. One of them is absolutely the gift of music. I'm glad that we're able to offer it to you so deeply, so richly. Please join me in the words as we bless our offering. They're in your order of service. We bless and receive these gifts, opening our hearts to true generosity. And together, let us be grateful when we give, be it time, talent, or treasure. Let us be grateful for our needs and the experience of vulnerability. Let us be grateful for those who share their gifts to nurture this congregation. Amen. This morning's reading is called Poemed for an Ink Daughter by Jean Wyrick. Before I begin, I want to let you know that the author has included the use of the word gypsy, a word for Roma people that's considered derogatory. In this work, it is used in both a derogatory way and a celebratory way. So I wanted to let you know that in advance. I also want you to know that this poem is directly tied to what Rev. Amanda is going to preach about today, inked tattoos. I know you did it differently. Way back then, when I was angry and young, I pierced my ears with a rusty ice pick and willfully wore dangly earrings and a smirk to Christmas dinner. My scandalized mother referred to me for days as my daughter, the dirty gypsy. I let my ears jingle silver music, ultimately dancing right over her Victorian disapproval and out of that house forever. And now, here you are, fresh from a different kind of parlor, with that defiant dragon curling over your shoulder. Now, of course, you know, I don't like it. Another gauntlet thrown down into the ongoing mother-daughter wars. But hear this, my own gypsy girl. I know something you don't. That under that fierce fire-breathing dragon, claws bared, ready for the next battle, under the skin where the purple ink turns to blood, your blood is my blood. Rushing red to red, flowing in a long bond, linking my heart to yours no matter what. Like the swirling, twisting lines of an intricate, intimate tattoo, invisible, indelible, forever permanent. Poem for an Inked Daughter by Jean Wyrick.
I have had a lot of conversations about tattoos over the years. In fact, I have one friend who does not have tattoos and who has banned conversation about tattoos. She's also banned conversation about CrossFit, so I guess I just don't really talk about that many different subjects. I have had those conversations with people with tattoos and without, and yes, I've had some of those conversations with my mother, my father, and you know, we all have opinions. But I realized when preparing this sermon that I didn't know that much about the history of tattooing, the history of the art of tattoo across the ages and around the world. So I did a little digging. I found an article with the McGill Office of Science and Society, part of McGill University, that explored the instance of the sort of earliest known instance of tattoos found on iced mummy, not a mummified person, but an iced mummy in Western Europe, tattoos that connected with the acupuncture mark spaces practiced in China, which was many, many hundreds of miles to the west, the mystery that this man held on his skin, and the reminder that tattoo is old indeed. That article describes tattooing practiced all around the world by the ancient Greeks to communicate among spies starting in the 5th century, by the Romans to mark criminals and slaves, tattoos that were chosen and tattoos that were placed on people, tattoos by the Maya, the Inca, and the Aztec used in rituals, by the early Britons during ceremonies. The Danes, the Norse, and the Saxons tattooed family crests onto their bodies. As the choir sang, "Set a seal upon my arm," I thought of those early Saxons setting seals upon their own arms. During the Crusades, some Europeans tattooed a cross on their hands or their arms, the McGill article tells us, to mark their participation and to indicate their desire for a Christian burial, should they not return. The article also explored the history of the name tattoo, which comes from the Tahitian tatau, T-A-T-A-U. That word means to mark or strike, and some of the earliest practices of tattoo, particularly within Pacific Islander communities, were indeed an application with ink being tapped into the skin with sharp sticks or with bone. The article talks too about peoples in the Arctic using a needle to pull carbon-embedded thread under the skin for linear designs, and other cultures where designs are cut into the skin and rubbed the incisions with ink or ashes. All around the world and all across time, people have practiced the art of marking their bodies, inking in, chosen or unchosen, symbols to say something about who they are. That article also gave us statistics on the prevalence of tattooing today in the society that we live in and share. Within North America, the estimate is that 1 in every 7 people carry at least one tattoo on their body. Perhaps, like me, you are familiar with the Maori art of tattoo. In fact, before doing some of this Googling and research, that's the culture that I would have pointed to, knowing that tattoo was a deep part of their heritage, religious practice, and being. The Maori art of tattoo from the Maori people, the original inhabitants of what is now New Zealand. The Maori people used tattoo to show the outer markings of their inner, let me make sure that I get the phrasing right from a PBS article, of their inner, I've just lost it, their inner spiritual power or life force, their mana. This PBS article that I found gave me more information about the art of tattoo among the Maori, and in particular, the art of the full face tattoo, which is referred to as moko. The moko especially was a visual representation of the bearer's mana, of their life force. Starting in the 1850s, the practice of moko came under attacks from missionaries during colonization who described it as the devil's art. In the decades and century that followed, the practice revived as a symbol of resistance and then began to fade out. Originally, moko was carried only by Maori men, but over the years, more and more women began to wear moko to mark their passage into adulthood and to beautify themselves. By the 1920s, though, the last of the tattooed men in the Maori community had died, even while some women continued to wear moko. The article explored then more recent resurgence of moko, of the practice of tattoo within the Maori community and tradition. The reemergence, this article said, is a mark that the Maori people have not lost their ties to their ancient past, despite the dominance of European culture and values in New Zealand for the past 2 centuries. Their mana is again on display for all to see in their moko. For me, this practice within the cultural context of the Maori community links to the practice of tattoo for many of us in other communities. Tattoo as a claiming both of our individual selfhood, our spiritual power, our life force, who we are on the inside, as well as a practice of connection to group, understanding ourselves as parts of a culture, our individual identity, part of the larger group we claim and that claims us. In 1921, remember, just as the practice of moko was first dying out in New Zealand before it had been reclaimed as resistance, Natena Wakaari of Waimina said this: "You may be robbed of all that you cherish, but of your moko you cannot be deprived, except by death. It will be your ornament and your companion until your final day." The permanence of tattoo is held within these words and within the cultural context of the Maori people. What about for those 1 in 7 North Americans, some of whom may have cultural ties to practices historical and ancestral around tattoo, but many of whom may be the first in many generations in their family to choose to ink their bodies? What does tattooing mean in our culture for each of us today? Margot Mifflin offers a quote that reminds us that tattoos happen not in isolation, but in connection with our bodies overall. In a culture, she writes, in a culture where surfaces matter, skin, the largest organ, is the scrim on which we project our greatest fantasies and deepest fears about our bodies. Expose too much of it, and religious fundamentalists will come after you. Pierce or brand it, and you assume the uniform of the counterculture. Nip and tuck it through surgery, and you drink from the fountain of youth or buy into the beauty myth. I have found over time, and the comments after the 9:15 service definitely reinforce this, I have found that there are changing attitudes within the society that I move in anyway, changing attitudes about tattoo, often held within significant generational differences. Tattoos and our understanding of who chooses to get them are tied in deeply with assumptions about class, about appropriate looks within society. Tattoos sometimes are chosen as a way of identifying oneself as an insider, and sometimes a way of identifying oneself as an outsider, as a mark of queerness or punkness, or simply a chosen identity as not like the rest of you. This conversation about tattoos and about the spiritual nature of tattoos has been popular over the last couple of years among a set of Unitarian Universalist colleagues that I'm in kind of regular conversation with. In fact, several of them have done their own sermons about tattoo. I will say we have to fill a lot of Sundays, so if someone has a good idea, you tend to jump on the bandwagon. As part of that, colleagues who have decided to ink themselves have shared what it is that they chose and why they chose it. There are a lot of reminders of what they believe about the world, about God. There are a lot of flaming chalices. There are images from the Hubble telescope, symbols of the infinite, the intersection of science and the divine. People have lines of poetry and song. Colleagues shared about reclaiming their bodies, about making their bodies their own. As I think about that particular impulse toward inking, I think about that quote from Margaret Mifflin about skin as the largest organ of our bodies. And I think about what it means to move these days as a body in the world, as a body in America, especially if you move in a woman's body, or a trans or non-binary body, a queer body, a disabled body, a black or brown body, a fat body. I think about the ways that our society restricts and attacks and judges those bodies, and what it means to reclaim them as our own. But it was one of my colleagues, Sally Fritchie, who explored tattoos in a way that particularly intrigued me. She wrote that she was interested in how tattoos mark a relationship between our past, present, and future selves, requiring trust and generosity of spirit across time. Now, when I have conversations with people who have no tattoos, the most common response that I hear from them when they talk about whether they would ever get one, aside from the worry about the pain, and like it's true, they hurt, is that it feels scary or perhaps even impossible to contemplate putting something on their body that will stay there forever. Now, I will add the caveat that I have seen some really great cover-ups. So you actually only have to commit to having something on your body forever. Get an excellent tattoo artist and they can transform it into something else over time. But I understand what people mean by that. What if that's not my favorite flower anymore? What if that relationship changes? What if the author whose quote is on my arm ends up disappointing me with her extremely offensive anti-trans statements? At one time in my life, that would have been a real risk. The tattoo as past, present, and future invites us into a relationship with time that is not static. Frequently, people choose tattoos as a way to honor or memorialize or celebrate something that has mattered to us in the past. They place them on their bodies existing in the present, real, visible whether to themselves or to others, in the most present way possible. And they rely on their future selves' willingness to exist in relationship with that image, with the words, with the idea. Perhaps you have already had the chance to check out the images in the gallery exhibit in the Reeb Center today. If you haven't, I encourage you to head over there during coffee hour. All around the walls of the Reeb Center, you will find photographs of members of this congregation and their ink, along with the stories of why they chose those particular images to be tattooed on their skin. You can read in those descriptions the changing relationship of people with the images that they carry. Images from past spiritual journeys, perhaps, that no longer speak to their religious present, but that are part of their history nonetheless. Images from stages of life. Images that held one kind of meaning when they were inked on and a new kind of meaning now. Images that were chosen at the spur of the moment. That's like getting a flash tattoo, which is when the tattoo artist has a variety of images and you just walk right up and choose one and they put it on your body, right? Images chosen at the spur of the moment that have come to hold deeper meaning because of the context in which they were chosen or what they mean now. Images of tattoos that were not chosen, but rather reclaimed. Tattoos created over scarring. A tattoo that is simply a radiation mark, the pinpoint that helps a radiation oncologist determine where to focus the treatment. Tattoos, by their very longevity, assume that our relationship with the image, with the experience that it represents, will change because we change over time. They ask us to understand that we remain in relationship with our past selves and with the impulse to ink on a reminder of those moments. And often tattoos ask us, or at least invite us, into relationship with other people as well. Katie Ackerman, our communications manager, who curated the gallery exhibit and took the photos, you might have seen her walking around the last couple Sundays with a sign saying, "Tattoo, see me," which I really thought might lead to people thinking Katie was handing out tattoos in our office, but no. Katie, who curated the gallery exhibit, described what she was trying to create with that exhibit as allowing tattoos to be a revealing of intimacy, a revealing of connection. She talked about the way that often we don't know who has a tattoo depending on where it is and what they wear. And so if they show it to us, they are inviting us into their story. Many of the people whose ink was photographed for that exhibit surprised me. And I see in their descriptions of those images the invitation to learn another piece about them. Now listen, I don't think everyone should get a tattoo. There is nothing inherently cooler about having one, or braver, or whatever. And I am fascinated by the ways that we mark ourselves in many ways, about the jewelry that we wear, about the clothing that we choose, about the haircut that we have, about even the liturgical garments that we have. I felt that this stole was sort of tattoo adjacent today, which is why I chose it. It is covered with thumbprints and then little animals made of those thumbprints from members of the congregation. Rev CTC has one just like it and totally different. And they are marks set as a seal upon our hearts, marks from the congregation. We wear our marks in many ways, more or less permanent. I do think, though, that engaging with the thought experiment of what you would get if you did get a tattoo can be an informative one. What do you care about enough that you can be sure you will still be in relationship with that idea, that song, that loss in the future? Not in static relationship, but in the kind of transformative relationship that our lives require. What is enough a part of your story that inking it in isn't a risk, but rather an acknowledgement? What do you need to be reminded of over and over and over? What do you want your body to say to the world? How do you want to claim that body as your own? Years ago, one of my kids shared with a friend of mine that they wanted to have a sleeve of tattoos when they were grown up. A sleeve is when your whole arm, right, is covered with minimal or no blank space. My friend was somewhat aghast by this proclamation, but what about when you're old, she said. How will you look then? Well, I guess, my kid replied, I guess I'll look like an old person with a sleeve of tattoos. Our every attempt at permanence is itself in relationship with our changing selves. However you mark your beautiful, complicated, constantly transforming, constantly aging body, and however you honor your beautiful, complicated, constantly transforming, and constantly aging life, may you do it knowing that you, your body, and your life are in a dance of past, present, and future. And may you know that all of it is beautiful, and all of it is welcomed here. I invite you now to rise in body or in spirit and join in our closing hymn where we get to sing how beautiful we are. I think Jen and the choir are going to teach us this one.
Hopefully, those of you with orders of service see that there are exactly 3 measures of music for this hymn, and that there is a lot of space included. Those are for big and bountiful breaths. This comes from the Kundalini yogic tradition. The choir will teach you the melody, and we invite you, as the choir expands its part, to continue to let your imagination expand and where you take this as well. Bountiful am I, blissful am I, beautiful am I. Bountiful am I, blissful am I, beautiful am I. Bountiful am I, blissful am I, beautiful am I. Bountiful am I, blissful am I, beautiful am I. Bountiful am I, blissful am I, beautiful am I. Bountiful am I, bountiful am I, blissful am I. We are beautiful. Bountiful am I, blissful am I, blissful am I, beautiful am I. Bountiful am I, blissful am I, beautiful am I.
Would you all please join me in the words to extinguish our chalice? Just stay right here, choir. In one voice, we extinguish this chalice, but not the light and warmth it represents. These we carry with us, bringing our sparks of love to the world.
However, your skin, your body is scarred and marked, chosen and unchosen. May you know it to be beautiful, and may you hold it as past, present, and still changing future.